I think Luke was able to pack a lot of training into that period of time. We've also spent 2 years apart from them. We checked in with them a little bit in Book of Boba Fett, but enough time has been spent that you're going to see a significant change in this character because he's no longer the helpless infant that the Mandalorian first encountered. I'm having a blast, and I love working with Dave, and I love how the characters develop over time. And in both the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, as well as Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, we're starting to get a really rich backdrop for these stories to be told. And now it feels like there's a larger context for me to understand, because we just knew what happened after it and we knew what happened before. And so that's very inspiring to me, and I love collaborating with all these different filmmakers and different storytellers, both from the directors we work with and other showrunners like Dave and like John Watts and Chris Ford. I don't know what would make me not enjoy doing it, especially as long as the audience is connecting with these characters. This feels like a really enjoyable moment, and I love this format of telling one chapter at a time and keeping the audience guessing, but also fulfilling certain expectations. It's a really wonderful format. You really grow to appreciate having such a good team around you that for each new film you would have to assemble, but now we get to inherit this great group of talented people that we could work with every year.
Our people are scattered like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for? Being a Mandalorian's not just learning about how to fight. You also have to know how to navigate the galaxy.
It's a big galaxy. We try to keep it feeling like a big galaxy. I think it's always the same. If there's opportunity, if it makes sense, if we're in a certain place and you go, well, that person would be there, then great, and if there's a purpose for them. We have a lot of conversations about, who could show up where, even just generally on characters that maybe wouldn't be as obvious to people, because growing up with Star Wars, there is a history there. There are a bunch of characters almost anywhere you look on the timeline, and it's always a question of, should we use that character or is it just somebody else? Sometimes it's exciting, equally as exciting to make someone new. No one knew Mando, no one knew Grogu before Jon, plucked them out of the stars, and here they are, these, probably bedrock characters for many people, as much as Luke and Han and Leia were for me as a kid.
And George kept adding characters too.
He always added characters.
He added Boba Fett, Darth Maul, like the new characters arguably are some of the
favorites. Little news, the best way, when it makes sense. Yeah.
We really appreciate all the good Star Wars stories that are being told across multimedia, and there's a lot to draw upon from additional stories that were told outside of what's considered official canon now, but is held very dearly to the fans who've been at it for decades. And so we like to take all of that into consideration. One of the things I'm most proud of about what we're able to accomplish with this show is to pull in different sets of characters and storylines, and each generation and each group connects with a different aspect of Star Wars. And I love that we are able to incorporate things that I remember from when I was 10, things that feel like deep cuts and Easter eggs of things like the rifle that he uses from the holiday special, the Camtono, the ice cream maker from Wilrow Hood, and then having prequels, sequels, Clone Wars, and even expanded universe aspects that we could all pull so that into our show, so that there's something for everybody, no matter what you connect with Star Wars. This is a place where all the Star Wars fans are welcome, and hopefully they're enjoying the show.
Come, little one.
He doesn't want to go with you.
He wants your permission.
I think for me, Luke made the most sense. When we're dealing with a young force-wielding character in Grogu, and you say who would be the absolute best mentor, for him, it's obviously Luke in this time period. And so that was a big discussion. We talked to Mark, we talked to Kathleen Kennedy. We said, we're thinking of bringing Luke in. What do you guys think of that? It's a big deal because, we all care about those characters because they're George's characters. They have their history. They did what they needed to do. But obviously, he'd be a great caretaker for a young Grogu. So it was a challenging thing to do, having directed that one particular episode where he showed up quite a bit. And, I don't know. I'd be very careful about whenever we use that technology but mainly those characters. It's just a good way to take care of them. There are all kinds of ways to have characters show up that don't even need to be on screen, and you can feel their presence or they're active in our time period. So I don't know. It really just is what's the demand of the story and how well do we think we can do it. That's basically what it comes down to.
He has benefited tremendously by the time spent with Luke Skywalker. And although he ultimately chose not to forego the central relationship and bond that he had developed, an attachment he had developed to the Mandalorian, and opted to leave Luke's, the fledgling academy that he's developing to train young Jedi, and went off to rejoin Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, he did spend time with one of the best, one of the most powerful Jedi and best teachers. And I think that Luke, what we demonstrated was that there was an understanding between the two of them, because Luke has been marched a bit to the beat of his own drummer. I don't know that he holds all of the Jedi teachings to be as literal. He has also formed friendships as well. And I think he appreciated in Grogu that he really wanted to go off and be with his friend, just like Luke, when he was younger, had wanted to help his friends out and left his training with Yoda. I think Luke was able to pack a lot of training into that period of time. We've also spent 2 years apart from them. We checked in with them a little bit in Book of Boba Fett, but enough time has been spent that you're going to see a significant change in this character, because he's no longer the helpless infant that the Mandalorian first encountered.
Without that blade, she's a pretender to the throne.
He's right.
Come on, just take it.
Katie and I had a lot of talks about it. She knows that character inside out. It's a character that obviously goes way back for her and I. And, originally we had dreams of maybe one day it becoming live action, and here it is. So she's a tough character. She's definitely been a warrior her whole life. And I think it's a challenging thing. Obviously in season 2, she likes Din Djarin, but there's obviously also a conflict of interest there with the Darksaber and what it means iconically for her, what it represents for Mandalore. So, easy ways to say season 3, just watch it. That's the best thing. I always say it's not as fun to hear me tell the story as it is to watch the story. So just stay tuned and see what happens.